How can I not figure that out, Stephen?
Eric.
Welcome back, Graham.
Hi, Margaret.
Hello, Eric. Hi, Eric.
Who said hello to me? I didn't see.
Afternoon, all.
Oh, Mike did, but yeah. Eric. Hi, Eric. Hi, Graham. Hi,
Howdy.
Judy, Chris Berry.
Hi, Mark. How are you? Nice to see you.
I
Can
don't,
we
think
just-
I don't think I recognise this Graham person. There's something a little bit different.
He's got hair.
Looks outstanding, mate.
Take time off.
And it's all real.
Oh, hi, Graham.
Still.
Not like mine, Graham.
That's all right. We're all jealous. Don't worry.
No, a pair of tweezers under the pillow and 50-odd years. And look at one hair a night.
You look 20
revenge,
years
Al.
younger, Graham.
Like a duck, you know?
Alrighty, everybody.
Shannon, can we? I just wanted to check before we kicked off, just in case I had problems accessing the Zoom link from the Reds page, but did anyone access it from there, and are you here? And then we'll know
Yes.
it works. Yes?
No, I got on there. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Yeah, thank you for that, Abs. Alrighty. Well, in the matter of time, firstly, I would like to kick off with acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land from which I come to you from tonight, which is the Wurundjeri people. And I would like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and to recognise that sovereignty was never ceded. And all the work we do at Red Cross, reconciliation really is at the heart of it, and just trying to bring equality and equal Australia. Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to the session tonight. I'm really excited about this session. It's going to be a really good chance to have a reflection on how we went as a leadership team in 2020 and give you guys some real thinking space and time to work together, to toss some ideas around about what worked for you, what didn't work for you, and give you some space to suggest some things that you would like to see for 2021. I am now going to hand over to Mr. Josh Owies. Actually, wait, no, first, sorry. We will introduce Will and Anthony, who are two of our new members of Vic ES. So if you guys want to jump in and take over. Will, Anthony?
Hey there, everyone. Yeah, sorry, I've got a fly in my room. Good evening. I'm Anthony. I'm one of the two new volunteer leadership support officers. So I'll be carrying out this role along with Will Tran, who is here waving. Yeah, so we're here to support you guys, and we want you guys to know that we're here to advocate for you and to help resolve any issues you might have, or to pass on any suggestions that you have. So we'll post our details in the chat, and feel free to get in contact with us about everything and anything. I'll quickly hand over to Will as well now.
Hi everyone, it's wonderful to finally meet you all. Sorry about the late entry. I just had some issues with Zoom. So now I'm just back in here, and it's really lovely to see all your lovely faces. As I'm just extending to what Anthony said, building incredible teams means having incredible relationships and support. So that's exactly what we're here to do. We're here to support you and ensure that we are all across the board and providing incredible, exceptional service and emergency services. So thanks so much for including us, Shannon. It's wonderful to see everyone here.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And thank you for introducing yourselves. These legends are really going to be working quite closely with you guys. So yeah, good to put a name to the face. All right. In the chat function, I'm about to launch a little poll. It's just 3 questions, 3 key questions that we think we want to get some insight from you guys about. So I'm going to launch that into the chat function right now. You should be able to see that. Also at the same time, I'm going to invite Abby Merkley, IMT legend, to jump in, give us a bit of a briefing about what kind of the weather outlook's going to look like. And yeah, how we're tracking with preparedness. Over to you, Abs.
Thanks, Shannon. Hi, everybody. So unknown to anybody here, including Shannon, I've deviated from my agenda item slightly in the spirit of this meeting being about reflection. That's the reason for my deviation. So as we move down into our breakout rooms, you're going to be asked a series of questions, and we're going to have a chat about what went well this year, what don't we need in 2021, and what actions would you like to see from us and as the group in 2021. So just keep that in your mind as I keep explaining 2 actions that I need from you, which you can have a think about before we get down to the breakout sessions. So the first one, in terms of the weather briefings, we've come together as a group twice to talk about weather and the outlooks. We've consistently looked at 2 products, which is the Bomb Climate Outlook video and the Seasonal Bushfire Outlook, which was produced quarterly. So we've looked at those twice. And I was thinking today, and I'm really conscious that all of you as leaders get all of this information from all the meetings, like regional and local meetings that you attend. We also run the EM COP session, so I know that everybody can find that information, and you guys really are the experts in everything that's happening in your division. So as we think about those questions, what went well, what do we need, what don't we need? I pose this question for the weather briefings that we've been having. And this is for you to answer as we get down into the breakout rooms. Do we need to, do we want to come together every time those products are released, which is quite often? Or is it, do you guys just want to receive that via email? Do you want it popped up on Reds? Do we just want to have one really big session, maybe in November or even in October? And then we just feed those links to you as they come out. So those are those questions that I'm posing to you. What do you want in 2021 in terms of the weather briefing? And then as a part of a bigger question, not to make you think too much before we go into the breakout rooms, but last year with our amazing leadership calendar, we were a little bit divided between the incident management team or operations and the divisional leadership group. And next year, I'm hoping it's going to be completely different and we're going to be one leadership group together. So I know we've got some incident management team leaders here tonight as well with the divisional leaders. So my second question is, what do you want to see from an operational perspective in terms of those masterclasses or other events that we can run through the year? And they might be weather briefings when we're in bushfire season. They might be more EM COP or EM learning sessions if you need that. It's really up to you, like what don't you have visibility on in operations and what would be useful for us as an emergency services. So just to reiterate, the 2 questions that I need you to think about before we get down to the breakout rooms to have your input. How do we want to run the weather briefings and how would you guys like to receive those products going forward? Is it useful? Is it not useful the way we're doing it at the moment? And for masterclasses or other sessions that we can put on the 2021 calendar and schedule in, what do you want from an operational perspective? I think that's it. Thanks, Shannon.
Awesome. Thank you, Abby. And great questions to reflect upon. Maybe if you could pop them in the chat, that would be really useful to send out to people. Now I'm going to hand over the floor to our OWI or Outreach Wellbeing Initiative team. I'm going to hand the floor to Tony Duffin to give a bit of an insight into how the program's going and as a team leader, give a bit of perspective. So over to you, Tony.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's had a good day. We certainly had a good day on the OWI team today. We had a fantastic shift, so that always helps. Shannon's asked me just to go through what a shift involves to start off with. And I'll just start with the simple things. First of all, you need to register your expression of interest in Reds, and that will be accepted and shown in Reds. It will actually show your team leader, as well as the OWI coordinator. There's a briefing and a debriefing each day. And before your shift, you will be asked to read the SMEACs and the frequently asked questions. There is also a pre-shift video that you can watch. Things like the script for D365, the script for Message Bank, the referrals list, and any other relevant information is or will be in the REDS event. If not, it will be shown in the documents section on REDS. So it's pretty straightforward and pretty easy to find. The process of logging in, which was an issue with a lot of volunteers to start off with, has been simplified and made really easy because we now use the links that you will be sent each day to get into the MS Teams and the D365. So it's really simple. The only thing we ask is that you try to log in before the briefing just to make sure we don't have any IT issues. We do have an IT person on each shift, so we can work those issues out as we go along. I'm just trying to think what else we need. So there'll always be an IT person and the hourly coordinator on each shift. So you're not left there with just the team leader and having to solve some issues. We've always got backup. When you log in, your call list will be there waiting for you. So it'll have your name and your calls. So you just work your way through the call list following the script. Use MS Teams for chat if you've got any questions or you just want some guidance or you just don't feel comfortable about something that you've talked to somebody about. You just either key it into the chat line or you can always text or phone the team leader. So you've got three options there, whatever you feel more comfortable doing. If you have any issues that need to be escalated or that you're not too sure of, you escalate them to the team leader and the team leader will either solve the issue or refer it on to the hourly coordinator. So I think that's about as much as you need to know about how your shift works. Your role as an operator is purely to provide a listening and a caring ear to the people that you're speaking to. These people have been identified by DHHS as being in a vulnerable cohort. So 99.9% of them don't have any internet access. And because they don't have much of a profile with DHHS, they think that they may well have slipped through the cracks during the COVID crisis. So we're really just there to lend an ear, offer some guidance as to where they can find the information that they may need. We're not there to do it for them. We're there to provide them with the information. And sometimes they don't need any information. We've found that a lot of the people that we've spoken to are quite happy, quite self-sufficient, and that's the reason they haven't had contact with DHHS. They haven't needed to. They've got their own support network. And we found that because the people that we're ringing are not necessarily people over 70. We've got single parents and we've also got people with disabilities. And we found that most of the single parents we've spoken to have their own really good, strong networks, families and social support. There's been the odd one that's had issues, but we've been really surprised by the positive feedback we've been getting. And so your role is really to capture the information and the sentiments that the people give you. And we can't fix it for everybody. We can't fix everybody's issues, but we're there to play our part and do what we do best, which is provide PFA. And we have had some amazing new volunteers over the last week who have done their first shift and been a bit nervous to start off with. At the end of it, they just say, look, it just rolls. Once you get into the script and you make your first call, it really is simple. It may not have been when we first started out on this program, but it has developed into something that's really simple to use. And the importance of it is, well, just like I've explained, it's important that we reach out to these people and that we don't miss anybody that may need our help. And the next part of my little thing is that we need more of our divisional operations officers to come on board. And if they don't feel like they can come on board themselves. It's to promote the program to their volunteers. It's not difficult. The first day I did it, I thought, oh my God, what am I doing? But it really is simple. The guys have made it so simple by providing those links that it is, and it just flows once you get in there. You've got all the support you need. And I just think we need to, I know we've all had a long year and it's been very tiring, and now with the lockdowns lifted, everybody wants to do their own thing. But we have these shifts going until the end of December. I think we've got 70 plus, that might have increased now, 70 plus people registered and trained, but only 30 of them have put their hand up, or 30 odd. So, you know, we don't want to leave it to the same people. And today just proved what we can achieve if we have a full shift of people. We had, I think, 8 people today, and we got through all bar 2 calls on our list. And it's not about numbers, but it's just to show that if we have the volunteer numbers, we can make this program work and reach the people that we have to reach. And that's about it. I just think it's really a worthwhile thing to put your hand up for. And you might be a bit apprehensive and a bit nervous to start with, but get that first shift out of your way and you'll think, I don't know why, really. So that's about it for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony. We've also got Jamie on the line, who is an OWI program coordinator. Jamie, do you have anything else to add?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is my first time joining this group, so just glad to see everybody's faces, some of the new ones and some of the common ones that I get to deal with every day. Tony, Mel, Dennis, just big shout out to you guys for helping out getting this AWI project on its feet. And I actually see here a couple of folks, Mark, Alan, Rosalie, and a couple more that have helped out the OE project. So overall 39, aside from what Tony actually had mentioned earlier, I just wanted to share that about 39 volunteers have had connections with at least 316 people since we started this a couple of weeks ago. And like what Tony mentioned earlier, a majority of these folks just wanted to just chat and share their appreciation of the calls that they are receiving from us. We still have about 550 folks that are looking forward to hearing from Red Cross soon. And we have shifts going into the weekends that we've started just last week, all the way to the end of the year. So if there's more individuals that are keen to help us out, reach to this at-risk Victorian community members, just so we could make that virtual knock on their doors, so to speak, just to check how they're doing and ensuring that they have all the necessary information for them to be able to connect to existing support services and social networks that we already have at this time.
Awesome. Thank you both. That was an awesome little insight into how you guys are going, how important the project is. And yeah, key message is we really want to encourage more people to get involved. So in your team leader role, we really would love you to encourage your team to get involved. Now it's going to be a little update from me on behalf of the Learning and Development team. So I'm just going to share my screen. Can you all see that? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Awesome. Thank you, Will. Just going to make it bigger. All right. So I feel like a little bit of a broken record, but it's our final push for the year. We really need to get everyone with their PFA webinar completed. We are coming into the fire season. We're coming into summer. We really want to make sure everyone is ready for activation. We have courses scheduled till the start of December. There's a few more dates to be released, the December dates, but there are about 4 more courses for November left. And you in your role, we really want you to encourage your team members, if they have not yet, to make their way through this process. Because at the end of the day, if we get more of your team activated with their PFA, you're going to have a stronger team and we're going to do a better job as Red Cross. So these are just the key steps once again to remind you of when your team members might be asking you how they go about this. So firstly, we need people to complete their Elmo module Intro to PFA. That's a prerequisite. That's a compulsory prerequisite. So we need that completed before they then book into their webinar on REDS. So yeah, these are the 4 dates left for November. We've got Friday and Saturday of this week, and then Friday and Sunday next week. Yeah, and if you have any queries at all, always the VicES Workforce box can help you, and the 1-800 number. So we have something really exciting in the pipeline. We're looking into a team leader activation. So over the coming month, we're really hoping to do 2 Zoom sessions. The key purpose and what this is all about is giving you guys an opportunity, well, really anyone that has a keen interest in learning some really key leadership skills, or doing kind of a refresher on your existing qualifications. So I recommend keeping an eye out via REDS, and we'll let you guys know via email, and definitely on the Facebook page as well. So that's a little update from me. I'm now going to pass over to Mr. Joshua Arwies to give a bit of a kind of scope of 2020 before we jump into the breakout rooms.
Thanks, Shannon. Appreciate it. I've noticed a few questions are coming up through there about who to reach out to if you've got any issues with the training, or if people are having difficulties accessing their online learning through Elmo. Send any requests, support, any questions that you've got in there to the VicES Workforce at redcross.org.au email. Feel free to CC either myself, Shannon, Anthony, Huber, Graham Lowe, Will Tran, any of us. But if you send it to the VicES Workforce inbox, one of us will definitely see it. So rather than leaving it on a single point of dependency for one of us to action, if you want to cover all your bases, make sure it gets done, send your questions to the VicES Workforce inbox. Always a good one. Cool. So I am going to kind of share with you a bit of an overview of some of the things that we did in 2020. So for the people who are new, give you a bit of an idea of some of the activities that we did in the past 12 months or so. And for those of you who've been around for a while, you'll get to actually see some of the leadership support that yeah, we've kind of seen over the past 12 months. So let me see if I can share my screen very quickly. Give me thumbs up when you can see that. Awesome. So what we've got here is something that we, when I say we designed, the divisional leadership teams designed at around this time last year. For context, back in 2019, we had a monthly monthly Skype meeting actually with the divisional operations officers across the state. It was in the middle of the day. Only about, maybe 10, 15 people were able to attend and actually make it. And as a result, we weren't actually getting really anywhere. It was kind of just us talking at everyone. State office people just kind of end up providing an update and a report of what we'd done and what we'd seen and maybe what was coming up in the next month. But it wasn't really a very good, we're going to say achieving the goals, and wasn't necessarily as valuable as it could have been for particularly you as divisional leaders. So what we went through was a process of understanding kind of 5 key communication channels, I guess, or 5 key platforms throughout the year that worked really well from a different perspective to try and tick off every key thing that divisional leaders were looking for at that point in time. So you can see here that every single month there's a box in here that says state office report, state office report, state office report, state office report, state office report. That was a monthly, that request came from divisional operations officers in particular who were looking for a central place of information that kind of updated on all the things that had happened in the past month. It was originally meant to be a 2-page summary report. For anyone who's read one of the ones that's come out in the last couple of months, you'll see that it's probably closer to 16 to 20 pages. So it's kind of deviated from that, but we'll get your thoughts on that in a little bit. That was the first area, and that was really about updating information on what's already happened. The second thing that you're seeing here is a masterclass, and that happens every 2 months. So in January, March, May, we had a masterclass in the first weekend of each month. The idea behind that was that there are a series of kind of skills and really skills and of how to do different things inside emergency services. So I think we did one that was a bit of a REDS masterclass. One of the recent ones was divisional leadership, successful divisional leadership. There were a few others throughout the year. I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but there were some really, really exciting sessions there where we really focused on one particular area to build a specific skill set. The next one that you're seeing here, again monthly actually, is the DevOps officers one-on-one calls throughout the month. So that was, Graham has been leading on that and doing a fantastic job with a number of people in his project teams to have a one-on-one conversation at least once a month with each divisional operations officer or someone in the divisional leadership team to kind of see how it's going in your area, for you to raise any issues that you may not have raised before, anything you want to let us know. If there's anything that we need to update you on or have a chat about, we did it in there. And those have been running throughout the year as well. The fourth area in here you'll see is a quarterly planning conference, which is what we're at now. So there was one in February for autumn, to plan for autumn. There was one in May to plan for winter. We had another one in August to plan for spring. And we've now got one here in November, which has been rescheduled to today, to plan for summer. And so that was essentially, instead of looking back at the past 3 months, this is a space for us to see where we're at now and really plan for success for the next 3 months as we go forward. And then the final thing in here that we talked about was a leadership forum. So the idea behind this was that for a weekend during April, all the divisional leaders, so divisional operations officers, and I think their deputies and potentially some team conveners as well, we were all going to come together for a weekend to connect, say hi, spend some time with each other, and plan out what the next year and the next 2 years looks like for Red Cross Emergency Services here in Victoria. Unfortunately, about a month before we were due to have that forum, we went into our first lockdown here in Victoria and we weren't able to connect up face to face. So what we did in its place was hosted the first ever leadership festival. For those of you who remember that, it was 2 weeks of a series of leadership sessions, different skills, different people from across the organization sharing their experiences, sharing their knowledge. I think there are about 7 or 8 events in total across that fortnight. For those of you who've joined us recently and been involved in the Welcome Festival, very similar vibe, very similar type of sessions, but really targeted specifically at building great leadership skills. That's kind of what 2020 looks like. You'll see that there are other boxes in here. We've got our March recruitment, or sorry, autumn recruitment that happened in the start of the year. Unfortunately, that was delayed as well due to COVID, and we picked it up again in September with our spring recruitment, with a few other things sort of dotted throughout. But that's essentially what 2020 looked like. Now this was, keep in mind, this was designed 12 months ago, and we're now at a point where we're looking to 2021 and what's that going to look like. So in a second, I'll hand over to Shannon to introduce it. But we're going to go through and look at maybe some of the things that worked really well in here, some of the things that we might not need in 2021 and we can do away with, and then some of the things that we can potentially start looking at introducing. What are some of the new things that we might be able to provide you the best value and the best support that you need to be great, exceptional leaders.
Cool. Thank you, Josh, for painting that picture. Yeah, so as Josh mentioned, we're going to be zooming into breakout rooms. There's going to be a facilitator per breakout rooms. They're going to kind of be guiding you through these 3 key points. So we've labeled them as keep, stop, and start. We're going to have 10 minutes on the first 2 sections and then 20 minutes on the third section, as that really is the key planning bit that we really want to emphasize and get your perspective on. So when we are ready, Anthony, let's zoom off into the rooms. All right, everybody. Thank you all for jumping into those breakout rooms. I hope they were really useful and a good space to focus on those 3 kind of key themes. We're now going to do a little whip around to all the facilitators to give a little snapshot of the key points that kind of came out of each of the breakout rooms. So I'm going to chuck to, who am I going to chuck to? Josh, can you please give me your key points in a little 2-minute little snapshot?
Yeah, absolutely. We had some really great chats. So there are a couple of things in there that were really interesting. The state office report was called out as being really useful, that information, having all that information there is great. But there are a few suggestions around like having an executive summary version at the start, 2 to 3 pages. Here's what you need to know. Also including like an action list for divisional leaders, or for leaders in general, so that you know what you're actually meant to do rather than having to, filter through and find something on page 13 that you were meant to do. Call it out right at the front. That was really cool. There was some great talk about like some of the festivals that we did. So the Leadership Festival, the Welcome Festival, they were really great. Still a call for kind of that face-to-face in-person engagement of some form, whether that's, everyone in the state coming together, or whether that's, we do a north-south or an east-west regional get-together, and then, we can, great talk about like streaming those sessions online, so anyone from around the state can join in, whether they're there or not. Really cool in there. Some of the stuff in the start section was looking at particularly around some of the like that's the forward planning and some of that more strategic work, looking at what in the divisions in the IMT and anywhere else, what are we trying to achieve in the next 2 to 3 years in our areas? What's the gap between us being there and being here where we are? And then what are we going to do to fill that gap? What training do we need? What recruitment do we need to be filling? What other gaps are there that we can be looking at addressing? That was really, really exciting. Some of the things that we wanted to stop were the Aspire leadership came up as not necessarily the best experience for everyone. It was kind of moved around and thrown sideways due to both the bushfires and COVID. The follow-up sessions for the Aspire leadership program for those who are involved meant to happen right in the middle of the bushfires and then right in the middle of our first lockdown here in Victoria. Yeah, there's some few things in there. There was a call out for stop using so many platforms. There are so many platforms. We talked about in the Facebook group, we've got Microsoft Teams and Zoom and Skype and Pins, SharePoint, Reds, a whole bunch of different stuff all over the place. We've got emails flying places and all these different things falling into different areas. It's really easy as a result, it's really easy for things to go missing and for people to either miss out on different things or not know that stuff's going on. So that was in there. And I think one of the cross-cutting themes through there was one of the learnings that we've had in 2020 is that it's really easy for us to kind of record, share, and have access to things even after they've finished. Yeah, that was really really interesting in there, that even going forward as we potentially start being able to meet up and connect face to face more, having that ability for people to jump onto their computer and join from anywhere in the state, and also be able to go back and rewatch sessions is really awesome. And the last thing that I quickly wanted to touch on, or that our team wanted to touch on, was looking at some of the flexibility in being able to choose how to engage with the different opportunities. Something that worked really well in the Welcome Festival and the Leadership Festival in particular was that people could choose which sessions to go to, and they wouldn't necessarily feel like they'd missed out if they already felt comfortable with a particular area, as well as with like the one-on-one check-ins being really valuable, but people missing calls or whatever it might be, so being able to book a time ahead to be able to connect, or even to be able to say, actually, I probably don't need a call this month, give me a call next month, or being able to book in a session, a one-on-one chat really quickly, say, hey, actually, can someone call me at the start of next week? I've got some things that I really want to talk about. Yeah, it was really, really great discussion.
Awesome, thank you, Josh. Now I'm going to chuck to Will.
Hey everyone, so we had a really great discussion as well on what we'd like to keep, stop and start. I just want to also thank Tegan, Ruth, Gail, Dennis and Eric and Greg for their input. It's been fantastic. So I just want to start with keep. We discussed that the calendar was a fantastic initiative that enables information to be shared and be aware of events across the year. The communication during the activations were good, especially during Gippsland, as highlighted, I believe, by Greg. And they just want to also share that the recruitment campaign throughout the year, even though it was delayed due to COVID, it was very good that they ensured that teams were satisfied with the amounts in each one, and it coordinated very well. Another one was that Zoom is a fantastic platform to share information and data with each other. Masterclasses were a great initiative, and the State Office report is a good avenue of information where its consistency is appreciated, and it's good for meetings also. Are we in the keep phase, Shannon, or are we sharing stop and start as well? I wasn't able to access the group.
Absolutely, yeah, go through the key points.
Oh, fantastic. What we'd like to see stop within our team was the frequency of the one-on-ones were possibly too often, and maybe should be more specific from what I gathered within our discussion. Maybe calls when discussing the one-on-ones could be from someone within the teams themselves, and this information can then be relayed to the lead within the organization. And the same issue that Josh's team had was that we had too many platforms when we are connecting with other people or sharing information across the organization within teams. Our start was to standardize a platform to communicate with teams, maybe some possible training for Teams or Zoom, so it's a little bit less complicated. They would like to see more structure in the masterclasses with a higher level focus on specific things and a longer length of time. We also discussed about the weather. My apologies if I'm not calling it correctly. It was the weather briefings, that they weren't specific enough, and possibly a link within the state report from BOM so that leaders themselves can have a look at and maybe relay other information more specific to their area. They would also like to see a direct line to support officer to address concerns that may facilitate much better conversation than the one-on-ones. And that was pretty much a lot of what we discussed before.
Awesome, thank you, Will. Now over to Abby.
Thanks so much. I had a fantastic group, and weirdly, everybody was all operational people in there. It was a really, really fantastic group. So let me pull up my notes in there. So we launched into talking about the State Office report. The group that I had, so Sandy Rosler, Sue Jack, Susan McDougall and Stephen Sennett. So we, as a group, we found the report is actually really valuable. It's a really good resource to take to all those meetings. And even though it is long and could do with a bit of an edit, the group found that sometimes that length was necessary to explain all the different elements that were going on in VicES. And we agreed that it was a really good insight into all of the programs and all of the different elements that are happening in VicES when you don't get to see them if you're only involved in one part of it. Really good feedback on the OWI reporting, and that's been really useful to take to those meetings to kind of, so you know what you're talking about and you're well informed when you're speaking with other agencies. We had some really good discussions around the after action review and the people care report. So we went a little bit off track, but the feedback from my group was particularly kind of over the last 12 months that they're really pleased to see that as a state office group, we're willing to talk about the positive, the negative and the mistakes that we've made and how we're trying to work to challenge those. So noted that felt like there was a lot of transparency between the state office and other cohorts that maybe hasn't been there before, and that we're like starting to admit to our mistakes and learn from them. What we don't need in 2021, and some of our calendar items almost kind of fit together. So I'll just talk to some of the ideas for the calendar going into 2021. So the group wanted to see a little bit more connection between the DevOps officers and the team members and the IMT. So we discussed the idea of maybe like a kind of like a university O week, but an IMT week where we really open it up and have everybody come in and ask as many questions and make that as transparent as possible. And maybe something similar with the divisional operations officers, and maybe this could be in a workshop or a masterclass, but where the divisional operations officers, particularly the new ones, can really be stepped through what happens in an activation. So I know they're told a lot when they get the phone call, this is what will happen, but if we step that through in practice in an exercise. We talked about some sessions about more information about emergency management arrangements in the sector and how to speak with people from other agencies and what all those other agencies are responsible for. A real deep dive into aims for the leadership group, further skill development for the IMT leads specifically. And I think that's about it. Lots of good conversation, but I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Awesome. Sounds good. Good you landed with heaps of IMT people. Your dream. Cool. Over to Margaret now.
All right. Well, this is so valuable, given I know the history of us and trying to get better at connecting and communicating. I'm so excited about this talk. I was lucky enough to have Chris, Elaine, and Carly in my group. So thank you. I hope that I represent your conversations well. We actually spoke probably a little bit more in depth rather than breadth. So the state office report was also supported, but it was in the range of comments, we did think it was a bit long. It is also the question about it being a lot of the historical information and whether it's actually better for us to have a future-oriented one, like what's coming up, a heads up for DevOps officers. A comment there around that we do get that you are all receiving the National Emergency Services report, plus there's also the red alert that goes out. So there's a lot of information out there. But the state office report was something that we saw as important enough to keep while being modified. Another thing is that the sessions in these sorts of sessions, and the comment was that over the year that we've been doing these Zoom sessions or in the various ones, the masterclass or the festivals, that we're certainly learning how to do them better. And the breakout rooms especially are really good for having more in-depth conversations. So to do more of that, but also so to make the sessions longer, more interactive, and also between the leaders as much as possible. So that's something that came through. Breakout rooms are a good thing. One thing that we wanted to stop was, or certainly modify, was the one-on-one calls, and not necessarily stop, but that got put into the stop bucket. It's big. The comment word, and I'm just melding them together, that they've become more useful as they've gone along, but they still are a little bit random, happen at odd times, not sure about the purpose. A big question that was repeated was what actually happens with that information? So how does it get, what is it used for, and how does it be reported back out? And that was probably the key part. So if we were to improve something around the one-on-ones, it would be to do with the nature of those, the purpose, and then what we use, how that information is used. There was a comment from my group, which was that, that a written appreciation for the telephone call communication during activation, which was seen as being really supportive. In terms of the next bit, which is the start, the Joe Parks session, possibly the one with Kathy Meekle, but the information that Joe Parks has been creating, more of that would be welcome in terms of the MEMC and the REMC and the legislative environment, and the support. Like that's, especially as that's a really big, important new area for us to be boosting in the next 12 months, especially from December 1st. So more of that. The weather, the comment was, yeah, maybe put it, can the link go in an email, or can it go into somewhere else? So there's your answer for you there, Abby. Looking for more structure. Actually, sorry, that's somebody else's comment. So I hope I've represented our conversation well, Chris, Elaine, Anne, and Carly. And if there's something I've missed, please email it and I'll insert it back in later.
Awesome. Thank you, Margaret. And now to my group. I'm going to do this quite concisely, as we've already hit 7 and we've probably got about 5-10 minutes left of content. So I'm just going to hit the few really kind of key points. So in the keep section for my group, they loved all the masterclasses and festivals. They really particularly loved the Leadership Festival. Really, really enjoyed that space to connect and learn. What else did we want to keep? We really liked the transition to online, like the perks in, especially people that were quite remote, not having to drive super far to get to meetings. Having that accessibility was really, really enjoyed by quite a few of my members. And recruitment. There was huge ups to the team for the recruitment haul that we did in spring and getting some awesome new members. So let's keep at it, team. In terms of the stop section, which quite a few of the facilitators have touched on, too much information, a bit of oversaturation, and the need to kind of align communication so there's not duplication. Some of the group members in my group kind of commented on, yeah, there being so much duplication that sometimes they disengage, which fed really nicely into the kind of the start section of just a suggestion was made that maybe like a weekly kind of thing is sent out with really kind of concise, to the point information, because sometimes, yeah, they found themselves getting quite lost in all the communication that was sent out, especially via email. Another thing in the start section was more young people, more youth. Which I know us in the state office are aware of. We run it really kind of engage younger people to get involved with the Red Cross. What else? I think they're the really main points. Another suggestion was made, kind of bridging the online and in-person space going forward, especially for certain trainings that require pre-reading. I just saw your comment, Susan. You are young at heart. We're all young at heart. It's how old you feel. But encouraging maybe pre-readings to do at home, and then the more kind of practical training component is delivered in person. I thought that was a really great suggestion. Awesome. This has been so valuable, just hearing all the facilitators relay the information. We've got a little bit of information to relay. So I'm going to hand over to Josh now to kind of give a little bubble of what 2021 is going to kind of look like from what we've got so far. And then I'm going to get Margaret to jump in to talk about a really awesome session that we have coming up.
Oh, sorry, Shannon. I think Graham's group hasn't had a chance to speak as well.
Thanks, Anthony. Yeah. Thanks, Shannon. Sorry about that. But look, to cut it a little bit short, I guess, for some reason we missed out on what the actual points we were meant to discuss in there, and we ended up talking about the what Abby mentioned early on with regards to weather briefings and particular topics for the masterclasses. So apologies for that, but we'll give you a quick overview on some of those things there. For the weather briefings, they thought rather than having constant catch-ups, that to send out a link to the information, and for the information to be printed material so they could actually read and view at any particular time, and even to include some of that information onto Facebook. The bomb, if there's information that's coming out there for potentially to have a quarterly discussion on the forecast, but not just so much on the forecast, but what it actually means to Red Cross as an organisation, and how that weather is going to impact on how we're going to deliver the services that we might need to be delivering. We then discussed a lot about masterclasses and what some of the topics could possibly be. So I'll just rattle some of these off. Promoting of leadership positions and what it actually entails. So people who are thinking about possibly stepping up, what does it actually look like to be a DevOps officer, a deputy, a team convener, even a team leader within a team. REDS training on specific topics, so people have a little bit more knowledge about navigating around REDS and not relying on probably a team convener or a DevOps officer to do a lot of things for them along those lines. The masterclasses in general, people thought that they were very good, and we should continuing on with them as such. Access to where information actually comes from. Where do we get our information on to share with people? What are our sources as such? Red Cross policies and procedures, they're constantly changing. And then, you know, what does it actually mean to our volunteers when we do have a policy and a procedure? How can team conveners run a team meeting, a masterclass on agendas, taking minutes, topics, how to prepare, REDS events, all that sort of stuff. COVID activations and how an activation is going to look under the arrangements of COVID at the moment, and what may our teams be able to do and not able to do, and how's that going to impact the local teams when they might not have people to send into the field. So we might not have the capacity that we thought we met or thought we needed. Basic computer skills for some of our volunteer teams, in particular, when we're asking them to use, you know, we've mentioned there are multiple platforms, but we're going to be using D365 and Microsoft Teams and so forth. Rather than just saying we're out there going to use them now, then we need to be able to put some support around them as such. Outreach recovery, what is it actually these days, and what are our recovery team members doing out into the field, so we can get a bit of an idea and build up capacity and probably an appetite for that side of things. The engagement and retention of our volunteers. Recruitment was mentioned, which was great to see, but it'd be nice if we didn't have to keep recruiting. It'd be nice if we'd be able to engage and engage and retain some of the volunteers, so that it's not so onerous. And what happens at the divisional level versus the IMT? A little bit what you've mentioned, Abby, in there about, you know, let's link those two together now, and so people understand exactly how the IMT supports the divisions, and that we don't always have an IMT open when divisions are activated for level 1 and some level 2 activations. So I'll stop there.
Awesome. Thank you, Graham. Cool. So over to Josh to speak on a little bit about welcoming 2021.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Shannon. I'll keep this very, very short and tight. I don't have a crystal ball, so who knows what 2021 is going to look like. Don't think any of us expected 2020 to look like this, so I'm not even going to try. But some of the things that I've definitely heard tonight, and we can definitely expect, is continued engagement like this. I think the two big things I'm hearing are kind of flexibility and certainty. You know, let's options, choices, but not overwhelming. Let's provide like a really clear, concise experience. So it doesn't matter whether you're getting a message on Facebook or you're getting it via email. It's the same message that you're hearing, and the same message that everyone's hearing. So we're all kind of on the same page, marching in lockstep. But with all of us able to kind of change our speed and change our pace and turn in different directions as we go. So that's my own little fantastical picture in my head. In terms of some of the next steps, particularly around all the stuff that we've done tonight, all of the keep, stop, start information, we're going to come together, pull it all together, maybe turn into a bit of another 2021 leadership calendar, and we'll send out a rough first draft to some people here, get your feedback, come back, edit it again, send it back for feedback, maybe to some different people, bring it back, get it all together, share it with everyone for some final last feedback, and yeah, we'll use that as one of our guiding stars for 2021, as we've used the leadership calendar this year as our guiding star. Yeah.
Awesome. Cheers, Josh. And quickly over to Margaret. Ooh.
I was on mute. Yeah, really quickly from me. It's just a last minute inject to let you know. Sorry, and I get a telephone call at the same time. To let you know that we do a lot of work with emergencies. It's a plug. Emergency Services Foundation. We partner with the Emergency Services Foundation in Victoria, and so that we can do really lots of great work in well-being. That's my daughter. I'm just going to ignore her because that's what happens when you're trying to be brief.
Margaret, I reckon you could pick up the phone for your daughter.
I'll tell. Hang on. Hey Vera, can I call you back, please? Okay, talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye, Vera.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Damo. And I love it. There's a picture of family up there. That looks like my family as well. As if I've just stuck my daughter in the middle. Thank you. Back to what I was telling you about though. Emergency Services Foundation are we are developing with them and other agencies like VicPol, Ambulance Victoria, SES, everyone out there in emergency services who's part of this partnership is developing leadership training, like a really high quality leadership training course that's going to kick off from about March next year across the year. So it's about being emotionally switched on leaders in emergency services, and the purpose of it is to raise the well-being of our whole service. As you know, emergency services actually doesn't have a great track record when it comes to mental health and well-being of our people, and we at Red Cross take your health, your mental health and well-being, so we take it so seriously, as you know, from the people care work that we've done, the after action review. All of those pieces say to us that we need to invest in our leaders, and you are our leaders. So there is this training, it's a pilot that's happening, which we're looking for around 6 people to follow through the year from March onwards for a year to do this training. We're going to have a session on Friday just to explore a little bit about what it means, and also too, there's a focus group coming up for it. So if you're interested in being part of this training, if you can email me, let me know. And that is to mmccarthy@redcross.org.au, or contact one of the people that you've seen today facilitating, and they'll get that to me. So come if you can on, let me know you're interested. I'll give you more information. We've got a session on Friday just to unpack it a little bit in Red Cross ways and give you the information. If you're interested, please put your hand up. It's going to be a really great piece of training ahead. So that's my plug, and I'm going to let you go, and I'll call my daughter back in a tick.
Thanks, Margaret. Quickly, one more thing, actually 2 more really key announcements. A big shout out to Marg Benson. Happy birthday. Happy 75th birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Marg.
And to Nell Hewitt, 12-year anniversary with Red Cross. So I'm not sure if they're still in the line, but huge. Awesome. Thank you everyone for attending today. Sorry it ran a little bit over. I hope for you guys, and it definitely was for us, it was a really valuable session to air out what we want to keep, stop and start. We're going to be taking all your feedback and really feeding it into what we're going to be doing in 2021. So thank you all. Have a fantastic night, and we'll be in communication.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye all.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Well done,
everybody.
Everyone.
Good night. Thanks,
Cheers, team.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Well done. Great set of conversations.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
See you, Abby.
Yeah.
Well done, Shannon.
Cheers, Damo.
Yeah, very well done. Very well done. As
There was
always.
some technical buggery going around, right?
Yeah. I like the thing came up and it was loading because I was obviously meant to be one of the facilitators, and it just like kicked me out. And then I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Can't jump in.
Yeah, and we didn't get called back from our breakout rooms at all.
Weird. Because
Yeah.
I did. I'm not sure if anyone else did, but
Well, Graham did, but then he
No,
came
what
back and
happened
then he was looking at Margaret and just,
right.
yeah, it was odd.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
got called
Oh,
back, but I couldn't share anything. I couldn't share my picture on the
Oh.
screen or that kind of thing, so it's a bit tricky.
Sorry.
Damo, when did your breakout room stop? Because I noticed at some point that you guys weren't in that room anymore.
No, it didn't stop. We just left our room.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah.
Where did you go?
We went back and all we could see is Margaret's frozen face. That's exactly like that, Margaret. Yes. Yeah. But I don't think technical fuckery is anything that you could deal with, you know, like
Yeah.
it's just a Zoom thing. So
Yeah, just a Zoom thing. But I like all the feedback everyone gave from their sessions. I think we've got some good stuff to work with. So I think really valuable session.
yeah, totally agree. Yeah, really good.
I had some issues with the breakout room as well. For some odd reason, my camera kept dropping out, but it's fine any other time.
Interesting. Well, I can see two of Margaret here. So
Me too.